Force and boys, force them boys. Force and boys, force them boys. Force and boys, 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 boys. Boys, 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 boys. Force and 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 boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, force and boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, 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 force and boys, boys, force boys, 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 force and boys, force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, 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 boys. Force and boys, 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 force and 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 boys. Force and boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, force and boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, 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 force and boys, boys, force boys, 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 force and boys, force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, force and boys. But force and boys, force and boys, boys. 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 Force and boys, 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 force and 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 boys. Force and boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, force and boys, force and boys, boys, force and boys, 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 force and boys, boys, force boys, 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 seems to be right, so force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, force and boys. Force and boys, force and boys, boys. 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 Force and boys, 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 boys.